This video is on the static behavior of CMOS inverter. We already discussed about the NMOS transistor static behavior and its dynamic behavior. So now we are moving on to CMOS inverter and its static behavior. So if you consider the static behavior, initially let us review the MOS transistor and then we'll move on to what are the basic static behavior characteristics of your CMOS inverter. We already know that it's a P substrate in which a heavily doped N plus material are diffused in this, and it is your source and drain, and the distance between your source and drain is your length. It is represented with L. The depth of your, that is, we can say on a three-dimensional view, the width of your transistor is represented as W. Here the gate width is represented with W, as it is, you know, that as it is already made on polysilicon material. These and all it is already discussed. Let us see the CMOS inverter. In a CMOS inverter, it combines the PMOS and NMOS in series combination, where your source of PMOS is connected to VDD and your drain of PMOS is connected to output and the gate of the PMOS is connected to input. And similarly for the NMOS, the source is connected to ground, gate is connected to input and the drain of the NMOS is connected to output. As it is a CMOS inverter, the gate of PMOS and gate of NMOS are interlinked and the input is given, that is represented with Vin, and drain of PMOS and drain of NMOS is interlinked or joined and you are taking your output Vout. There exists a parasitic load capacitance that is represented with CL on your output side. If you consider the steady state response of the CMOS inverter, see here, if I am giving my Vin as 0, is it? If I am giving Vin as 0, for this case, my PMOS will be in on condition and NMOS will be in off condition, in which as PMOS is in on condition, it acts as a closed switch. As NMOS is in off condition, it acts as an open switch. That is represented in this steady state response. When your Vin is 0, see PMOS is in on condition and hence there exists an internal resistance Rp, as your NMOS is in open condition. So the switch is opened here. Here we are taking our output Vout. Okay. For the condition Vin is equal to VDD, see here, if I am giving Vin is equal to VDD, instead of 0 volt, now I am giving VDD voltage. So when I am giving the VDD voltage, your NMOS will be in on condition and PMOS will be in off condition. PMOS will be in off condition, in which your PMOS will act as an open switch and NMOS will act as a closed switch, and hence only the internal resistance of NMOS will be existing. See here, that is why as PMOS is an open switch, it acts as an open condition. It is shown here as open. Okay, as NMOS is in closed switch, when your Vin is VDD, there it acts as a closed switch and there exists an internal resistance Rn. This Rn is the internal resistance due to NMOSFET. The Rp when your Vin is 0 this is the internal resistance when your PMOSFET is in closed switch. Okay, this resistance is because of mainly PMOSFET. In this case, let us say that the VOL is 0, that is output load voltage is 0. Okay, see, whenever you are giving your Vin as VDD as your output, so actually this is your output, is it? This is your output. Is it? Actually this is your output. Your output is connected to ground now through the resistance Rn. Is it? Now if you measure the output, it is approximately, if you are not considering your resistance drop, it is approximately equal to 0 volt. Is it? 0 volt. That is your output low voltage. Is it? That is what it is represented here as VOL. Output low voltage is equal to 0. Okay, as it is on your output side, your output low voltage is equal to 0. Okay, if you consider your Vin as 0, as we already discussed that your PMOS is in on condition, if you neglect your Rp internal resistance, your Vout is approximately equal to VDD. Is it? That is what we can represent it as, is actually equal to VDD without any voltage drop across Rp. Okay, So that we can represent it as VOH, output high voltage. On your output side, we are measuring the VDD, that is of high voltage, hence VOH is equal to VDD. Okay. So now you know about low voltage and high voltage of your output, and your middle voltage VM, it mainly depends on the internal resistance of Rn and Rp. Hence it is represented as VM is equal to function of Rn comma Rp. Okay. If you consider the basic CMOS properties, the main property is it is a full rail to rail swing, which meant that, see, we are getting 0 volt at your output and also VDD at your output. Is it VDD at your output? So this forms your full rail voltage. It gives full output voltage. Is it? It ranges from 0 volt to VDD. Okay. Now, see, this is a full rail swing, which has a high noise margin, which means that, see, if I'm giving my 0 volt as input, sometimes due to any fluctuation, if my input voltage 0 volt is varying, so that noise margin should be considered. That we'll discuss it in the subsequent videos. So that noise margin is high for your CMOS. Okay. And here the logic levels are dependent upon the relative device sizes, in which if you can reduce the transistors as minimum as possible, and we can say it is a ratio-less logic. Always a path from VDD to ground, VDD or ground in steady state may exist, and for all these cases it has low output impedance, in which your output resistance is in the range of kilo ohm. Okay, and it can able to handle a large fan-out capability. Sometimes if you handle the large fan-out capability, the performance may be degraded. It has extremely high input resistance, in which the gate of MOS transistor is near perfect insulator. So this is happening nearly zero steady state input current. No direct path steady state between power and ground. See, we have discussed in the previous slide that there exists an internal resistance Rp, is it? Rp, and there exists an internal resistance Rn. When any one of the devices is on, always the internal resistance will be existing, or we can say this is the parasitic resistance. Is it? Always your VDD to ground are not having a direct path during your steady state condition. Hence there is no static power dissipation. See, if the propagation delay function of load capacitance and resistance of transistors are existing. So there exists a load capacitance and the internal resistance of the transistor. That is what we'll discuss in the previous slide. There exists Rp, Rn and then CL capacitance. Rp and Rn are the internal resistance of P MOSFET and N MOSFET respectively, and load capacitance CL is existing. As far as the N MOSFET is considered, if you consider the ID versus VDS characteristics with a constant of VGS, we always plot the characteristics, is it? By varying your VDS voltage. At the same time, we are measuring your output current, is it? So this forms the linear dependence. And if you consider your PMOS, it is in the third quadrant. The same logic we already discussed. Now we need to have a common coordinate with respect to V in, V out and IDN. To do that, see here we are considering IDSP is equal to minus IDSL. It is always opposite to each other. The currents of your P MOSFET and N MOSFET are always opposite. Here the current is because of your holes of majority carriers. Here the current is because of your electrons, which is having a majority carriers. The VGSN is your input voltage and VDSN is your output voltage. This is for your N MOSFET. For P MOSFET, it is V in minus VDD, and for P MOSFET, VDSP is equal to V out minus VDD. Okay. And if you see here, on your third quadrant, we are measuring our ID versus V out. As it is VDSN, it is ID versus VDSN. Now it is IDSP or IDSN. We need to maintain a common current, right? Hence, this can be equator. And your VGSN is equal to Vin. VGSP is equal to Vin minus VDD. Now we need to form a common input and common output, Vout voltages, is it? So to do that, we are considering the characteristics. And if you mirror it in the x-axis towards your second quadrant, it would be like this. See here, the VGSP, if you move it to the second quadrant, your characteristics would be like this. And if you move it to the first quadrant, see, you are directly shifting this to the first quadrant. Okay, see the characteristics, it would be like this. Now, as we are using both PMOS and NMOS in your CMOS inverter, now we need to merge using your load line. See, as you are merging your PMOS and NMOS, see here the red lines marked here is your PMOS. Okay, the black line marked here is your NMOS characteristics. And if you merge your load lines, see, I am getting the points at this and I am getting the merging at this point, and the DC load line will merge at this and here it is so. Is it? So if this is the case, and if you plot the characteristics and if you measure it, see here, this is your IDN, is it? At that time, so during your input, which is equal to VGSN. For varying VGSN, the input voltage is shown here for P MOSFET, and for N MOSFET it is shown here. And as we are merging, now we can plot the voltage transfer characteristics curve. See here, before plotting the voltage transfer characteristic curve, see in P MOSFET, this is your V in voltage that is equal to 0 volt, and V in that is equal to, see, for both the cases it is equal to 0.5 volt. And for this, if you consider your Vin is equal to 1 volt. Okay, and then for this case it is equal to 1.5 volt. Is it? That is what it is given here. Vin is equal to 1.5 volt. Is it? And for the next case, see here, it is equal to Vin is equal to 2 volt and Vin equal to 2.5 volt. And if you measure these characteristics and if you plot the voltage, see in the load line we have plotted. See, it is 2.5 volt, 2 volt, 1.5 volt, and minus equal to 1 plus 1 volt, 0.5 volt, 0 volt. Is it? This is what it is plotted here. See, 2.5 volt, 0.5 volt, is it? And it goes on up to 2.5 volt on a reverse side. Up to the middle point it is constant. Say it is in your output voltage is measured, and for after that it is reversed. Is it? This line is plotted from the scale. See, it is plotted like this. If you merge these line, you will get like this. Is it? It is about 2.5, 2, and it goes on. Is it? So now we have plot the voltage transfer characteristics curve of CMOS inverter, which is an output voltage versus input voltage, where if you increase your input voltage from 0 to 2.5, for example, you can measure your output accordingly. See, if it is 0 volt, you will get your maximum 2.5 volt. If it is 5 volt, almost it is equal to 2.5 volt. It is all almost equal to 2.5 volt. And there exists a slope here. Is it? That we'll discuss it later on. And once if you further increase your input voltage, at one particular point, it shifts from maximum. Is it? It is shifting from maximum. And then it crosses the middle voltage. And then it reduces to 1.5, 2 and 2.5 volt. Okay, so for this case, your NMOS is in off condition and PMOS is in linear condition. Okay, and for the next case, it is in your NMOS is in saturation and PMOS is in linear. See, up to this point, you can divide the regions into 5 from 2.5 to this case, and from this case 2.3 volt to 1.25 volt, is it? And then from 1.25 volt to, see here, up to this voltage, almost equal to 0.7 volt, is it? Not 0.7, almost equal to 0.25 volt. Is it? After this, and we'll see at this middle point your NMOS is in saturation and PMOS is in saturation, and after this your NMOS is in linear and PMOS is in saturation. And after this point, see here, from this point to this point, your NMOS is in linear and PMOS is in saturation. At the end, your PMOS is in off and NMOS is in linear. See, at the end of these two, here the PMOS is in off and here the NMOS is in off. Here the PMOS is in linear, here your NMOS is in linear. Okay, it goes on like this. and this is regarding the static behavior. And in this static behavior, in the dynamic characteristics exist when you change your input, is it? So this already we have discussed. If your Vin is equal to 0 and VDD is equal to Vin equal to VDD, you can measure your output accordingly, is it? So when Vin is 0, through your VDD you will get your output, and your capacitance is charged to a maximum of VDD. Your load capacitance is charged to a maximum of VDD, and when your Vin is equal to VDD, the maximum charge that is stored in the capacitor is now discharged through this path, okay, through Rn and then to ground. Okay, that is, the gate response time is determined by the time to charge CL through Rp or discharge CL through Rn. Either you can charge your CL through Rp or discharge your CL through Rn. Okay, this determines the delay. Okay, and if you consider the relative transistor sizing, when designing the static CMOS circuits, balance the driving strengths of the transistor by making the PMOS selection wider than NMOS section to maximize the noise margin and to obtain the symmetrical characteristics. This is why the reason why we are relatively increasing the size of PMOS than your NMOS. So one is to maximize the noise margin, another one is to obtain the symmetrical characteristics, because NMOS is always 2 to 2.5 times greater than it is the speed of NMOS, because the electron movement is 2.5 times greater than your PMOS. That is why we are increasing the size of your PMOS compared to NMOS. Okay. And if you consider the switching threshold, see, in switching threshold, when both the NMOS and PMOS are in saturation, which means that, see here, we know that in the transfer characteristics, this middle voltage is the switching threshold. So in this midpoint, okay, at this midpoint, what would be your threshold? So at this case, both your PMOS and NMOS are in saturation, right? Okay, now in this case, see here, both the PMOS and NMOS are in saturation, and that voltage is the middle voltage. At that time your voltage V in and V out is equal to same, both are same. Okay, and if you consider, as both PMOS and NMOS are in saturation, see here we know the formula saturation is Kn into VDS saturation into Vm. So here you know that it is VGSN saturation, that is VGSN minus VTN, is it? We know that the formula is Kn into VGSN. Instead of writing here, I will write here, so it will be easier to follow. So it is Kn into VGSN, is it? Into VGSN minus VTN into VDSN minus VDSN square by 2, is it? This is the formula we have derived for saturation region of operation for your N MOSFET, is it? VDSN square by 2, is it? So now as both are in saturation, see, so this is for non-saturation, right? For saturation, this is entering into VDS saturation, and this is also entering into VDS saturation. That is another equation that we derived for saturation voltage. This is saturation current. See here, in for VGSN, we are replacing with VM, middle voltage, is it? And for VDSN, we are replacing with VDSN saturation, because both PMOS and NMOS are in saturation, is it? And that is why it is written here as, see, we are taking our VDSN as common, hence it is VD saturation is taken as common, Kn is there. Instead of VGSN, we are writing VM here, minus VTN minus VD saturation divided by 2, is it? Is equal to, see, you know that your IDP is equal to minus IDN, or IDN is equal to minus IDP, is it? Anyway you can write. This is IDN is equal to minus IDP, or we can write as IDN plus IDP is equal to 0, is it? In any way you can write. So that is why for the saturation region of operation for PMOSFET, the same equation is utilized, and we are writing on your left hand side by moving your IDP, hence it is plus Kp into VD saturation suffix P into Vm. For VGSP, it is also the middle voltage, is it? Hence it is Vm minus VDD for this case. because source is of higher potential here. Hence we are writing it as Vm minus VDD minus VTP minus VDS saturation P by 2. On solving for Vm, you will get it as Vtn plus Vd saturation N divided by 2 plus R into VDD plus VTP plus Vd saturation P divided by 2 divided by 1 plus R, where your R is equal to Kp Vd saturation P divided by Kn Vd saturation N. Okay, this is your R value. This is R value that is equal to this is obtained from this equation during the derivation. Okay, and if you derive for further Vm, see for large values of VDD, okay, compared to your threshold voltage, okay, and VD saturation, okay, hence you can for large values of VDD compared to your threshold and VD saturation, hence these two terms are neglected. Okay, hence you will get it as, see, this is also neglected compared to VDD because it is 0.3 volt or 0.7 volt, somehow it is very less than VDD. Hence by neglecting those VD saturation and VT, we will get it as, see, it is R into VDD divided by 1 plus R. That is what it is written here. It is Vm is approximately equal to R into VDD divided by 1 plus R, where your VDD is very greater compared to VTN and VD saturation. This is the case. And for the for further derivation of middle voltage, let us consider that the switching threshold set by the ratio R. See, before entering into that, we will discuss about the R value. The switching threshold here is set by the value of R. See here, your middle voltage is directly proportional to R and inversely proportional to 1 plus R. Your middle voltage, that is the switching threshold, mainly depends on the value of R, which compares the relative driving strengths of PMOS and NMOS transistors. Okay. Now to derive your switching threshold with respect to the middle voltage. So to derive this middle voltage with respect to VDD alone, you consider the previous equation that is equated here. See, it is Kn into VDS saturation into Vm minus Vtn minus Vd saturation N divided by 2. For this, from this equation, if you consider the value such that, and see, from this equation, you are substituting your Kn and Kp value. You know that your Kn is equal to Kn dash, your Kn is equal to Kn dash into W by L of N into W by L of N. Is it? This is your Kn. Okay, this is equal to Kn dash into W by L of N. Substitute this value in this equation for Kn and similarly for Kp. Okay, and then you are equating it to 0. After equating it to 0, and if you realign it and if you choose for W by L of P and W by L of N, you can able to derive this equation after substituting Kn and Kp. And if you make your W by L of P and W by L of N on the left hand side like this, you can able to derive this equation. This derivation you try to derive on your own. Okay, so after deriving this, let us analyze this equation. See, for the previous case, it is if R is equal to 1. If R is equal to 1, your middle voltage is approximately equal to VDD by 2. Is it? Which have to have comparable high and low noise margin. So your R is equal to 1, which makes your Vm is equal to VDD. Okay, and your W by L of P depends on your saturation voltage of your MOSFET and P MOSFET, and then the constant parameter COX, is it? Okay, mu n into COX, K dash is mu n into COX, and also the middle voltage minus VTN minus VD saturation divided by 2 divided by VD minus VM plus VTP plus VD saturation divided by 2. It depends on all these parameters. This is how a switching threshold is depending on. A switching threshold is basically the voltage in which your transistor shift from maximum to minimum or minimum to maximum. This is mainly characterized with the help of your PMOS and NMOS. Okay, so with this I'll stop this. I'll stop the switching threshold. Next we'll move on to the noise margin. So the noise margin is determined the level in which the input is varying. Let us say the level in which the input is varying for 0 volt is may range from 0 to some other value. That is, it ranges from 0 to some other value. Is it? See here, this is your input side, this is your y-axis output side. Is it output voltage? The range from 0 to some amount of voltage, let us say up to this point, it is considered as high voltage. Is it? If you plot with x-axis, if you draw a vertical line with respect to x-axis, that we can say it as VIL, input low voltage. Okay, after shifting with respect to middle voltage, see this is the plot we have plotted for the middle voltage. Is it? Middle voltage. After that, if you move on to the lower level, if you increase your Vin, your output voltage is decreasing below your VM. At that time, you are marking it as input high voltage. From this value to this value of V input voltage, this is a maximum of VDD. This is a maximum of VDD. So that we can say it as that minimum level, is it, that is marking for higher value of input is represented as input high voltage. See, you know the voltage is varying from 0 to VDD. Is it? The range in which your input varying from 0 to some amount of voltage is represented as input low noise margin. So that level, the range from 0 to particular voltage, that is your input low voltage. Okay, so this voltage range is always considered as 0 in your practical case. Okay, and this voltage from VIH to VDD is always considered as high voltage. That is approximately equal to VDD. Approximately equal to VDD. So this range of voltage is your noise margin for higher value. Okay, similarly for input also we can define, output also we can define. See, from 0 to some particular amount of voltage. Is it? And similarly for this case it is VOH into, so actually it is coming like this, right? In practical case it would be like this. It won't be a straight curve. Hence from VDD to this particular voltage it is marked as VOH. That's it. That is your, this range is considered as a noise margin for your output. Similarly this range, see, it shifts from, it won't be directly enters into 0. It would be like this in practical case. Okay, hence this level is marked as output low voltage. This range of voltage is marked as output low voltage. Okay, exact as 0 volt it should be there, or it can be somehow higher, not it is equal to 0.7 volt, not up to 0.7 volt, somehow higher. That is our noise margin we try to fix. Okay. By definition, VIH and VIL, input high voltage and input low voltage, are measured at your slope. So this is your slope. It is dV out by dV in is equal to -1. Okay. At this point, we are measuring our output, noise margin, input high voltage and input low voltage. Let us see the input high voltage here. Noise margin, is it? Noise margin, high noise margin. See the maximum value of VDD minus VIH. Okay, see this is VDD, maximum is VDD minus VIH is your high noise margin. And if you define your low noise margin, it is VAL minus VDD. See, it is VAL minus ground. Is it? That is your in low noise margin. So one is high noise margin, another one is low noise margin. And you can equate your VIH and VIL to this value. So for these cases, so high gain in the transition region is very desirable. This is what your noise margin for VIH and VIL. In the same way, you can measure for output. This is for VIH input, high and low voltage. Is it? The same way you can measure for output. See here we make your VDD is exactly equal to VOH. Is it? But this is not the case. Is it? Output high voltage. Hence this can be also marked as VDD minus VOH, because your output may be lower or it may be somehow a deviation, is it? So that range can be defined in the help of your noise margin. So with respect to output, you can also write it as VDD minus VOH. VDD minus VOH. Okay. Similarly, for lower noise margin, we can write it as VOL minus ground. VOL minus GND. Is it? Okay. So this is regarding at your output. As you are making your VOL is exactly equal to ground and VOH is exactly equal to VDD. Okay. So this noise margin can be rewritten as, it can be VOH minus VIH. VOH minus VIH. And similarly, the low noise margin can be written as VIL minus VOL. Okay, this is what the case is for noise margins. The noise margin is basically either it can be at the input side or it can be output side. Okay, it depends on the deviation of high voltages. So that how much high voltages can be deviated. So that is your margin. You are fixing your margin for voltage deviation. And similarly for low value of voltages, you are defining the margin. Okay. Then next is the impact of process variation on VTC curve. Okay, on observing the impact of the process variation on VTC curve, see, we are plotting a voltage transfer characteristics curve with respect to output voltage versus your input voltage. Is it? See, nominal representation of voltage characteristic curve would be like this. And if there exists any good PMOS and bad NMOS, see, for good PMOS you are getting high value of VDD. Is it? That is why your curve is shifting towards right side above the nominal level. And if there exists any bad PMOS and good NMOS, see, your nominal value, your curve is shifting below the nominal value. This is, if you are getting good NMOS, it is below the nominal value. If you are getting good PMOS, it is above the nominal value. This is the basic impact of process variations on VTC curve. So this may cause a shift in the switching threshold. And regarding the scaling of supply voltage, we can able to scale the supply voltage to a minimum value. See, we can give 2 voltage or 2.5 volt for high value, or you can fix it as 1.5 value of voltage, or it is of 0.5 voltage of your voltage, supply voltage. See, now we are scaling your supply voltage. There are various input and output voltages. So if you are having 2.5 as input voltage, your output is 2.5. If you are having 1.5 as input voltage, your output is 1.5. If you are having your input voltage as 0.5, your output is 0.5 volt. And if you plot your output versus input voltage characteristic curve for this, so for the scaling, the curve is shifting towards, if you are having the higher voltage, it is having a higher voltage output voltage. And if you are having lower values, see, for the red mark of your input voltage, your output versus input voltage transfer characteristic curve value is reducing. So thus, from this you can able to identify that device threshold voltages are kept constant. Even though there is a varying, the device threshold voltages should be kept constant. Okay. Shifting is same. That is why they are saying the device threshold is constant. So regarding layout, we'll discuss in the next video.